Hello everyone. In this video I wanted to talk about why I fell in love with the RMS Queen Mary. Now, I wasn't always an ocean liner fan. I want to say that the first time I ever really was introduced to ocean liners and my very first interest was actually seeing the movie Titanic in theaters, the James Cameron movie from 1997. I saw that movie when I was a kid. It was at a family-friendly movie theater, so they cut out the adult parts of the movie. But it was a great movie, and I remember going home and building Legos of the Titanic. And for many decades, I was a semi-Titanic fan. I didn't do much research into it. I had like a single book about the Titanic that was really more of a picture book. And I did enjoy it very much. However, I wouldn't really say that I was a Titanic fan. Now in 2012, around the time of the 100-year anniversary of Titanic's maiden voyage, I wanted to learn more about it, so I watched a lot more documentaries about Titanic, and then I bought this model kit and put it together. And at the time I didn't really know what Titanic looked like, and so I just kind of followed some basic rules and stuff, and in the end this model is quite inaccurate. But nevertheless, I was getting a little bit interested in ocean liners at that point, but I still wouldn't call myself an ocean liner fan at that point because I didn't do a whole lot of research. Now, I would say that the turning point came in the year 2020. So it was January, and my friends and I were trying to decide what we were going to do to have fun. We usually drove out to different places and explored and took video footage of these places and such. And my friend Chris had suggested, why don't the three of us go to the Queen Mary and just explore for a day? Now, I had been to the Queen Mary a few times in my life before. I had been there occasionally as a kid. My dad would take me. I think he took me twice when I was a kid. Once in the late 1990s, another time in the early 2000s. And then in the year 2010, I took my father to Queen Mary because I bought some tickets for the ship, and we took a self-guided tour around. So we had the headsets and we walked around, and I remember thinking, this is pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting ship. But I wasn't quite into it, if you know what I mean. So in the year 2020, when me and my friends were planning to go, I thought, well, you know, the Queen Mary was once operated by Disney while it was sitting in Long Beach, and I thought I could tie this into my channel because at the time my channel was strictly only a Disneyland history channel. But I thought, well, you know, I could kind of tie this in there because it does have something to do with the Walt Disney Company. And so I immediately, the night before, started doing some research on the Queen Mary. Now, I wouldn't know, but later on I would find out that research on the Queen Mary isn't that easy. Sometimes you get information and it's quite frankly just false information, and you have to do some really intense digging to find the real information. So what I had with me going to the ship the next day was not always accurate information, but I thought, I'm going to film a vlog where the camera is always pointed at me, and I'm going to walk through the ship, and I'm just going to read off some of these fun facts that I learned and show people my reaction to learning about the Queen Mary. Honest to goodness, it wasn't for the views. I was doing it because I wanted to capture my own reaction to the things I knew I was about to be blown away by. You know, I wanted to see for myself, you know, in the future, the turning point from the moment I thought of Queen Mary as just another ship to an amazing ship, because I was starting to have a feeling that that's what was going to happen, and I was right. So the next day we went to the Queen Mary. I started filming the vlog and we were going around, but the second I stepped aboard that ship, I remember standing outside the ship on the bridge looking around and just, you know, giving some quick information and facts. And all of a sudden I stepped aboard the ship, and the scent of the old wood paneling, like a library. I love the smell of libraries. It reminded me of the smell of a library. And immediately it just it transported me into another realm. And I remember walking through that first area on A deck, and at that time I had no clue where on the ship I was. I was so new to the Queen Mary, but I was immediately entranced. And watching the elevator doors open and seeing, the happy faces of the people walking around the ship, it was something else. It was something quite magical. And the ship, it wasn't in the best of shape, but you could see that deep down inside was this beautiful ship. And it's funny because I used to be kind of a Titanic purist. While I wouldn't necessarily say I was an ocean liner fan or a Titanic fan, I was a Titanic purist at the time. I felt like, oh, well, the only reason why I'm not interested in other ocean liners is because Titanic is the most beautiful, the most amazing, the most fantastic ocean liner that ever existed. So I thought going into the Queen Mary, there's no possible way I could see this ship as more beautiful than Titanic. But that's when my point of view changed. The ship opened my eyes to this old ocean liner architecture and how things changed and how it doesn't have to be all the same for me to enjoy it. I remember walking around the various Art Deco rooms around the ship and just being completely blown away by what I was seeing. Again, the ship wasn't in the best of shape, but behind the dirt and grime, if you will, was this beautiful, ornate ship that almost had a personality to it. And this is where I get kind of spiritual. I'm not a spiritual person. I don't often think of things in terms of higher power or anything, but there was something quite interesting about that ship, how it kind of affected me. And walking away from the ship that day, I had this profound change in me, almost as if when I saw the ship, it was trying to say, look, see, I'm not all that bad. I am a beautiful ship, and, I may not be in the best condition, but, I have all this potential. It was almost as if the ship wanted me to help in some way. Again, at the time, my channel was all about Disneyland history. I had no expectations to talk about ocean liners and stuff. But it was almost like things kind of just fell into place. The pandemic happened, and that did change my life. I had to move up north, and, now I live 1,000 miles away from Queen Mary. But it kind of forced me to really look at what was important to me. And as I was doing more research about Queen Mary and learning more about the ship, I started to realize that the ship was extremely valuable to world history, and that the ship wasn't just about the way it looks, it wasn't just about its accomplishments, it was something much more. The ship represents the last of a certain kind of era, and the Queen Mary really is a wonderful, immersive place that showcases architecture and design and style from a bygone era. And I thought, how can I help this ship? The ship, the people operating it, they went bankrupt, and there's talk about, what the future is going to be. And I started to worry. I'm serious. I actually started to worry about what was going to happen to the ship, because all I could think to myself was, God, I wasted so much time being on that ship and filming some dumb vlog. I could have been really trying to dig in and appreciate it even more, because now I'm a Queen Mary super fan, and I look back on my time and think, I wasted so many opportunities to visit the ship, and now I can't. I have to wait. And so I thought, well, how can I help the ship? I'm just a normal person. I went looking around to see if there was somewhere, donations could be made, somewhere where contributions could be made. There was no official place where help could be given to the ship. The city of Long Beach didn't really have any way to allow the public to help the Queen Mary. And So there was really no way I could directly help the ship. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to help the Queen Mary if I can't go there myself and do something about it? And so I thought, well, I have this YouTube channel. Quite often, when I expressed my interest in various subjects, the people who watch my channel, they get immersed into it too. And I thought, well, I could try to bring more awareness to the Queen Mary and bring more love to the Queen Mary if I just tried to learn more about it and tried to teach people what I learned. Now, if there's one thing I'm really good at, it's research. I do a lot of research and I do a lot of cross-referencing. I'm not perfect, but I think that I go a lot further and become more detailed than most people would be on YouTube when it comes to research. And so I thought, well, I'm going to try my best to learn as much as I can about the ship and try to show people all the fascinating things that I've learned about it. And so with each video that came out, I produced more and more information about the ship. And sometimes I've had to make corrections because, again, I do all this research, I try my hardest, and sometimes you open a new book and there's something in there that contradicts what you just learned. So that's research for you. That's what happens. And so I didn't take it as any kind of personal failure. I just, dusted myself off and got back to learning and corrected the things I said in the past and tried to learn new stuff. And so that is why I do what I do on my channel. That's why I make Queen Mary videos. And unfortunately, it was a kind of a double-sided blade here, double-sided sword, because a lot of the people on my channel were very accepting of this new direction. They loved to learn about the Queen Mary, and that in itself was my drive to keep going. But I did notice that when I tried to share my enthusiasm for the Queen Mary with the ocean liner community in general, there was a whole lot of pushback. I think a lot of people felt that I was trying to become popular using Queen Mary for my popularity. I think that they felt that I was, some kind of, attention seeker or something, and that's not who I am. And quite often I'm the person that prefers to be behind the camera, but for what I do on YouTube, sometimes I have to be in front of it. And all I really wanted was to help the ship. I don't want to see another ocean liner from the classic age, disappear. There isn't too many of them left. And the Queen Mary, in my opinion, my personal opinion, is the most beautiful of them all. And so I just, I have a passion for the ship. And so that was something that was really difficult to convey to a lot of the ocean liner enthusiasts in general, is because while a lot of them accepted me, there was still quite a number of them that didn't. They just felt that I was using the ship for popularity, which is kind of silly because if all I cared about was popularity, I wouldn't even be talking about ocean liners. I'd probably be, one of those YouTube channels that does those really dumb stunts or something that gets a lot of views, or one of those YouTube channels that talks about celebrities and drama. If all I cared about was the views, then the Queen Mary videos certainly aren't those things. The Queen Mary videos don't get nearly that many views at all. I could produce videos about Titanic that get way more views than the Queen Mary videos. But I do what I do because I feel that maybe by helping to teach people that she's not just some cruise ship from a old time, or that she's not just some, generic old-timey ship, that is rusting away. I want people to see that the Queen Mary is really, really important. And the only way that I know how to do that is through what I do here on YouTube. And so that's why I started my trek into the Queen Mary history. And that's why I do what I do. And that is how I fell in love with the RMS Queen Mary. It's just a fantastic ship, and it's really changed my life, actually. Just starting doing videos about it and learning more about it and meeting all kinds of new amazing people who teach me more about it every day. I like to think of myself really as a scholar. I know my channel is called Alex the Historian, and really that was just a nickname that people gave me when I worked at Disneyland because I knew so much about Disneyland that people would jokingly say, oh, well, Alex the Historian here can tell you about that. That was just my nickname. I don't truly think of myself as this expert on anything. I'm just someone who loves to learn things and share my passion for learning with others in order to help inspire them to do the same. I truly believe that the best way we can make our society better, the best way we can better ourselves personally, is to develop passions for things and to share those passions with others, and to learn about history in any form, be it world history or ocean liner history. So anyway, folks, that's my little story for you today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and comment below. For more stories on the architecture, engineering, and history of the Steam Age, make sure to subscribe. You can support me by either becoming a Patreon member or channel member, or you can help donate to my transatlantic voyage to the UK. Links and information are in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.